Assalamu alaikum. I'm Aksa Tariq, your host for today, and I'd like to welcome all of you to another session of Sectober 2023. As we gather here today, we found ourselves at the convergence of cybersecurity awareness, knowledge sharing, and a fantastic celebration. October worldwide is known as the month of cybersecurity awareness. And throughout this month, what we've designed here at CSO Magazine in Pakistan and CXO Masters Academy, through the last 15 years of relentless commitment to delivering the latest in cybersecurity trends, threats, and solutions through our partners, it's a milestone that we're proud of to be celebrating our 15th anniversary as the CISO magazine. But over the next few weeks, what we've done is we've curated, an enriching set of security talks, thought-provoking panel discussions, and engaging conversations. So the goal is to really provide valuable insights that can be applied to everyone's own organizational cybersecurity practices. And of course, a lot of knowledge sharing. We've been sitting on the other side of the table, and we've had these interactions with each one of you individually and at your organizations, but to really understand and keep things light and easy while we journey through the complexities of the cyber world and how it has been evolving for the last couple of years, without any malware intended, of course. So to make these sessions accessible, we will be sharing them on LinkedIn and our YouTube pages over the next few days, and ensuring that no one really misses out on these valuable content and discussions. So in this spirit of collaboration and knowledge sharing, I would like to firstly thank our panelists here today for joining us and taking out the time and sharing their knowledge. I'd like to quickly introduce them and then kick off the discussion. So we have with us Mr. Iftikhar Arif, the General Manager IT at Muller & Phipps, Pakistan. We have Bilal Javeri, the Chief Information Officer at Lucky Motor Corporation, and Mr. Razi Farooqui, the Deputy Director, Cybersecurity Risk Management at K Electric. So thank you for joining us on this journey. Let's make Sectober 2023 a month to remember. My first question is I'd like you to introduce yourselves and also, quickly dive into what is the top or the most pressing cybersecurity challenge with respect to your respective industry today? Because each of you represent a very different industry, but I would like to understand how diverse the challenges may be at the moment. So Raziza, we can start with you.
So thanks so much, Aksa. So first of all, thank you very much for giving the opportunity to speak here. And again, congratulations on the 15 years of CXO magazine. We have been watching it. I believe all of us have been watching CXO for the last so many years. It has become like a flag bearer for CIO market, CXO market overall. I think today's conversation is very exciting, because especially when we see around whatever is happening, and the kind of threats, vulnerabilities, exploits, and we all are so much akin to these terms right now, because there was a time a few years back when it was not in the common jargon, and these things have now moved into mainstream. So even if you talk to, a fresh graduate, forget the fresh graduate, even if you talk to somebody in 10th grade, he's aware of the cyber awareness and cybersecurity. And I think that is really sort of a win for our industry. Coming back more towards your question, so I, as you are aware, I most of my life has been spent within the financial and banking sector, and over the last few years, I've moved on the other side, on the utilities sector, on the power sector, right? And the power sector challenges are quite unique, and I think that is where the fun lies, because for it's critical infrastructure, and cybersecurity becomes part of what is now globally known as CIP, critical infrastructure protection. Now, as is expected, obviously, the more advanced societies, the more developed world have climbed the value chain, and they're there. But I think we are very fortunate that there is a lot of traction in the local market as well, regarding how do we go about protecting our critical infrastructure, and how and what are the challenges around that. Because, and I can tell you, because coming from a financial banking world, it was the security triad, which we've already known was CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and that is so much true in today's world as well. But interestingly, in the critical infrastructure protection, CIP space, critical infrastructure space, it's kind of turned on this head, so it's availability, integrity, and confidentiality. Because my generation plants and my transmission equipment and my, the power which is coming to your places is actually depending on its availability. So more than confidential, there's hardly any confidential information flowing into the circuits in your homes unless there is a smart meter. But there's obviously a power, and power is the lifeblood, it's the energy, right? And as we are aware, that because the impact is of a totally different magnitude. So an attack on a banking institution can make financial loss, reputation loss, but a cyber breach or cyber attack on critical infrastructure can actually lead to loss of human life. It can actually lead to compromise on the national security. And that is not and beginning, that is not in any way sort of any other, I'm sort of belittling any other sector, but I'm just trying to make my audience realize that there is a whole different sort of ball game on the critical infrastructure protection. The CIA becomes AIC, right? And so and that essentially means that, because automation is everywhere, and power utilities as well, so, and there was this information technology, information security services as well. But then we are increasing our foothold and we move into what is known as OT, operational technology, apart from IT, right? Now, OT technology, when we move into OT technology, it's a very emerging field. I was just, the other way, I was speaking to somebody on one of the leading vendors in the OT technology, and they said that there are, for every 500 people, there is only one OT cybersecurity person. And that is the kind of dearth of talent here. And that is the kind of cutting edge, leading edge, rather bleeding edge it is. So coming back to your question, because when you consider power utility, the priorities change. From CIA, it becomes AIC, availability, integrity, and confidentiality. Second is critical infrastructure. That is, it cannot be a BCP and DR. It has to be online, on there, 24/7. That also implies a lot more responsibility from a cybersecurity perspective. OT technology, we like to think, we as in power sector like to think that our generation transmission plants exist in a bubble. We do not talk to the outside world. And that is why we are sort of protected and insulated and isolated from whatever goes out there, whatever madness is there. We have a very strict structured life. And at the huge cost of financial cost, monetary loss, people are realizing, the industry is realizing that is just such a myth. So the myth that we operate in a bubble insulated from the outside world is not real. So that is shattered. We all are aware of the famous Stuxnet, how that sort of breached over a period of time, the insulation and isolation of certain countries, sensitive installations. Then we are aware of how the attacks on electric grids have been happening over Ukraine, and then if you just Google it, you will see how even in our neighborhood, earlier this year, there was an attack on Tata Power Systems. I'm not gonna, because this is a public forum, I'm not going to disclose the kind of attacks we see here, but just from a magnitude perspective, we see almost 500,000 attacks every month across our digital landscape. So I think the game is just starting. The challenge is beginning. The good news is I'm very fortunate. The executive leadership and the board is very diligent. They are very interested. They are very supportive. There is executive advocacy there to support all cybersecurity, to ensure that the cybersecurity is there. As you're aware, the NEPRA, the National Power Regulatory Authority, they published their cybersecurity framework back in October. It's been exactly a year now.
Yeah.
And we have been part of that. We are part of that cert as well. So, and now there is actually the national cert also. So I think fortunately, there is a national level awareness as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Energy build नहीं होगी तो आपका environment हमेशा बना रहेगा.
Thank you. And Razi sir, would you like to add to the collaboration aspect from the IT and IS leadership perspective?
So, Akshay, you are opening a can of worms. It's a debate which doesn't have sort of an end, right? And I have seen all sorts of models, funny models across the world. Fortunately, so I think we all understand, and I think we all agree that there is an inherent conflict of interest between these two roles. Because while CIO is more towards enabling digital services or enabling services on the digital platform, CISO is more focused on control aspect of those platforms, right? And as you can imagine, there's always what is known as creative tension between these two roles. So I think back in I think it was 2008 or 2009, when State Bank domestically brought out in their regulations that CISO and the cybersecurity, information security, whatever you wish to call it, will not be reporting in under IT, or will not exist under silo of IT. It is actually under risk management. And that is something which have been adapted by NEPRA recently. So NEPRA, from a regulatory perspective, also said that organizations must have CISOs, and those CISOs could not report to IT because it's an inherent conflict of interest. They could report to risk. If they don't have risk, they could report to other leadership roles or whatever. Globally, as you're aware, I think there is a shift towards making it more like an independent, autonomous auditor side of role. So, so we all are aware of what happened with the Equifax Bank, the famous breach, which ended up where the chairman was fired by the shareholders. The CISO went, the leadership went, the CEO went, the board went, and the chairman went. And I think that is the kind of impact which is driving people on taking these radical new approaches on controls. I think domestically, we are still a bit off. That's one aspect. But I was certainly second what Iftikhar just mentioned, that you cannot really exist without active collaboration and support. But I may take a divergent view of what Iftikhar just mentioned, because this role and these collaborations really not driven by the platform. So whether that was on-prem, whether that was data centers, we have clouds today, we can have grids tomorrow, or whatever. But that creative stress and tensile, along with that collaboration dimension, is really important. Now, we are all aware, if I just mentioned APIs, 20,000 APIs. Wow, that's a huge lot. And we all are aware that since, at least for the last 2 years, OWASP Top 10, which is like the top 10 attack vectors, they have started publishing top 10 API attack vectors. And that shows, and the funny thing is, typical or more traditional cybersecurity protection mechanisms like WAF or level 7 or level 5 sort of protections are not even, or SaaS or DAST are not even effective against those. So I think that's a whole new challenge. Add to this mix the whole new flavor of shift left, so we have DevOps, which is now evolving to DevSecOps, and how the shift left and where. So I think the collaboration is coming. We all are aware of how PMP and PMI and Agile Scrum, all these project management frameworks are making it mandatory that there have to be a security phase gate review. Along with benefits realization phase gate reviews, there should be security phase gate reviews, which circles back and feed into our shift left DevSecOps sort of thing, So yeah, and I think it's interesting, and I think we will continue to see the evolution of this interesting space. Yeah.
Thank you.